actually stumbled towards the kitchen and collapsed on the ground.
Next, a life of emotional abuse and psychological setbacks.
Ashley's upbringing was one that was kind of doomed from the beginning.
But when she finds a boy who brings balance to her world, she'll go to the ends of the earth to keep him.
It was a terrible scene, like something out of a horror film.
She was willing to do anything to make sure they were together.
And later in Inkster, Michigan, following a series of family tragedies, Darlene Binyard is desperate to fill an emotional void.
Darlene was always looking for that strong male figure in her life.
But when true love comes knocking, it'll open a terrifying door she should have kept locked forever.
Loving each other that much and doing what they done is disgusting.
They were ride or die, and we're in it until the end.
There are hundreds of thousands of women in prison at any given time in the U.S. These are the true stories of women who committed heinous crimes in the name of love. For my man. Surrounded by crack houses on the dark side of Birmingham, Alabama, Ashley Jones's moral foundation was destined for destruction.
You're in a housing projects community. There are a lot of folks that are there. They're low income, and a lot of times there is crime associated with that. So she has a lot of these things happening around her.
In addition to the troubles outside the walls, there's plenty of evil lurking within her own family.
Her father was very temperamental, and she didn't have any role models because both her parents had their own issues.
They didn't resolve conflict through talking. They fought.
According to Ashley, when she's not watching her mother suffer emotional trauma at the hands of her father, the girl, as well as her sister, fall victim to the tyrant's wrath.
Get away from me!
Her father once held her, her mother, and her sister at gunpoint, and he actually shot at a car that they were riding in.
Just recklessly unloads firearm into the vehicle. So this definitely was detrimental.
Despite the severity of her folks' repeated actions, no charges are ever filed, as the couple chooses to live their tempestuous life under society's radar.
They really didn't see bringing the law into it, because it was just their way of life.
As Ashley grows up, the extreme conditions wreak havoc on the girl's psyche, manifesting into trust issues and leaving her with a jaded sense of right and wrong.
I just thought it was extremely tragic for this young lady. She had no chance for a better life. She was doomed.
It's tough enough to grow up and deal with the changing emotions and hormones and all of those things that are part of getting older and evolving. But to grow up in such a turbulent sort of environment, that will have a lasting, devastating effect on one's life.
As time passes, Ashley's mom makes the decision to leave her husband behind and remarry.
It got worse because the man who then came into the picture pretty much replaced what the old husband did, and you have Ashley who is continuing to see this destructive behavior.
It started to affect her mental health. She would sometimes laugh to herself, talk to herself. She was paranoid.
Her inability to fit in quickly makes her an outcast and causes the reclusive ninth grader to seek out a fatal solution to her problems.
She was taking prescription medication to overdose.
Once that didn't really work, she attempted to cut herself. That landed her in the office of the psych counselors who diagnosed her with chronic depression.
For some people who cut themselves or try to attempt suicide in general, well, they may be trying to deal with some strong emotions, intense pressure, upsetting relationship problems. Sometimes it's something as simple as relief from bad feelings.
Instead of being put on medication, she and her sister are shipped off to live with their grandparents, DeRoy and Mary Knowles, as well as her Aunt Millie, who also lives in the house.
Her grandfather was very loving. He was a church man. I think they called him Deacon Knowles. He was a deacon in the church.
Sometimes seeking a new living situation or environment may be exactly what the doctor ordered